everybody, welcome back. Today we are doing a bake with me video and we'll be making hot pretzels and hot pretzel sticks. So let's get started.
All right, we have all our ingredients out. We have flour, which you'll need about 4.5 to 5 cups. A half stick of butter or margarine. We will be melting that before we put it into our dough. 1.25 teaspoons of salt, 2.25 teaspoons of active dry yeast, which is the same amount that comes in each of those little packets that you can buy. But if you buy the yeast in bulk from Bob's Red Mill, it ends up being about half the price per ounce. So that's how I buy it. And then we have 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. You'll also need 1.5 cups of warm water, about 110 to 115 degrees Fahrenheit. And then later, after the dough has risen and shaped and all of that, you will need the other half of your stick of butter or margarine and some baking soda and about 5 to 6 cups of water. So we've got our stand mixer, that beautiful KitchenAid, fitted with its dough hook attachment, and we have our 1.5 cups of warm water in the bowl. And we're going to go ahead and dump in our brown sugar and then sprinkle the yeast on top. Once you have all of that in there, you're just going to let it be for 10 to 15 minutes and let the yeast bloom. What this means is that it will get kind of bubbly and foamy when it is bloomed. You want to make sure that your yeast is not expired and that your water is not too hot or too cold. Otherwise, this activation of the yeast will not happen and your dough won't rise. So there we go. As you can see, the yeast is light and fluffy. It started bubbling up. So that tells us it is time to put our other ingredients in. We have our melted butter, half a stick. Next is the salt, 1.25 teaspoons. And we'll start with 1 cup of flour. We'll mix that together and then we'll add the rest of the flour. We need 3.5 to 4 more cups. So now we have all of our ingredients in there and we're just gonna turn the mixer on to the level 2 speed and let it knead for a while, and then we'll feel the dough and see how sticky it is to see if we want to add more flour or not. Beautiful. Our dough has formed a ball. It's a tiny bit sticky, but it will not stick to your fingers, and it's no longer sticking to the edge of the bowl. So it is done, and we are ready to cover it with plastic wrap and let it rise for about an hour. Okay, I've got my dough in the bowl here covered in plastic wrap. You want to, before you cover the bowl, you want to take the dough out and spray just with cooking spray the inside of the bowl so that the dough doesn't stick to it, and then stick the dough in and put the plastic wrap on top. So I said about an hour. What we're actually looking for is for the dough to double in size. An hour is just the guess. So when the dough is doubled in size, we will be ready for our next step. And I know earlier I said buying yeast in bulk. I didn't mean like a 5-pound bag of yeast, like Costco sized or anything like that. It actually is sold in a bag this size. So it's just 8 ounces, and I think it costs about $5, which seems like a lot for this little thing, but you only use a little bit each time, and this has lasted me a really long time. So if you're going to do a lot of baking, a lot of yeast baking anyways, I say go for this. They sell it at Meijer and, you know, I'm sure other places as well, and it stays good for a long time as long as you keep it cool and dry, and it's perfect for baking. Yeast baking is my favorite baking. Okay, so our dough has about doubled in size, and now we have our medium saucepan filled about halfway with water, and we're going to put about 1/3 of a cup of baking soda in it it doesn't have to be exact, but you bring this water to a boil with the baking soda in it, and once the pretzels are shaped, you dip them in here, and that is what makes them brown in the oven. So I've got my baking sheets out. We're gonna turn the dough out of the bowl and start shaping. The recipe makes either 4 full pretzels or 8 full pretzels or 16 pretzel sticks. So I'm gonna make 4 pretzels and 8 pretzel sticks. I divided the dough in half and then this half into quarters. So once you have it rolled out into a long, thin rope, very long and very thin, you hold both ends and then you cross them over twice. Once and twice, and then you lay it down here and position your beautiful little pretzel. Now we're gonna do it with the other 3. Okay, so one more time. You've rolled it out into a long, thin rope. You hold both ends, you cross them once, twice, and then you lay them down, and it might look a little crazy for a second, but as soon as you reshape it, it's a perfect little pretzel. So for the pretzel sticks, I still separate it into 4 quarters, but now I roll them out into not as long and not as thin ropes, and then I just divide them in half before I dip them into the baking soda water and then bake them. Okay, so once your pretzels are shaped and your baking soda water is boiling, you're going to take the pretzel on a spatula and you're just going to completely immerse it into the boiling water. You're going to leave it there for as long as you really want. I leave it for about 5 to 10 seconds, and then it gives it enough of a coating to make it really get brown and beautiful in the oven. And then when you're done, you just grab it right out of the water and place it back onto your baking sheet. So the oven is preheated to 450 degrees.
Can I open it?
And my lovely little helper here is going to open the oven for me.
It now?
Go ahead.
Move this first. More.
That's enough, buddy. Open the oven, and we're going to stick our pretzels.
This one first.
Nope, that one's not going in yet. Right
How
in.
about this one?
Make them for 9 to 10 minutes. They're out of the oven. So I've got my melted butter, the other half of the stick from before. I'm going to spread it with my pastry brush, and then I've got some cinnamon sugar and some large ground sea salt to sprinkle on top. Looks like Winston wants a bite. Oh, Winnie!
Perfect. Little.
Now for the best part of any baking adventure, the taste test. We have 1 salt and 1 cinnamon sugar. Which one do you want to try?
I want them both, but I think I want to go for the sweet.
All right, I'll taste the salt.
Okay.
Ready? That's a good pretzel.
Oh, good. Nice consistency.
So that's all for this bake with me. If you have any ideas or suggestions for the next one, I'd love to hear them, and I hope to see you real soon. Bye!